these butternuts have done really well. A few did start to rot, and you can feel them. They're a lot lighter if they don't have any blemishes on the outside. They feel light on the inside, or they're mushy. But these are still nice and hard. I was pondering when to start chitting my sweet potatoes because I did it a little too early last year, but the potatoes pretty much decide that for you because these have been here in the basement, 50-degree basement, 55, 60. They're starting to root up or slip up. So they're ready to go into some soil and get some roots on them. These um these were just called Japanese sweet potatoes. I got these at Trader Joe's last year and they yielded pretty well, and they're the best tasting sweet potatoes. We like them really dense flavor and sweet, whereas these more, I'd say more typical sweet potatoes, they really seem like watery in comparison to the Japanese version. Um, yeah, here's that one right there in the corner, starting to put up some leaflets or whatever you call it. I did save this funky one, large and gnarly. Holy moly! What the heck is that? Yeah, this happened to me last year too. I think it's the overwatering. But it doesn't look like it's stored well. It's all hard as a rock. It's not, I don't think it's gonna, yeah, I don't think that's going to produce anything at this point. So that's compost there. Now, as much as I would love to plant the next round of seeds, I need to pot these up first because I would rather they were in bigger containers now versus later. So these are doing really well. And some will stay in, like the oregano and the lavender. They've got more ways to go, and the rosemary still have a ways to go. But I believe the cilantro and the dill can be moved up. My peppers have not popped up yet. It's been a week on the heat mat and everything. I only turned on the lights a couple of days ago because I knew they wouldn't be popping up very quickly. But so far, nothing on the peppers, which is fine. But I'm surprised because they have popped up a lot sooner in the past. Potting up will also allow for some cells to empty up so that I can actually sow something else in there. Now, this is the fun part because these cells aren't exactly the easiest to get plants out of. Usually, this is where I employ the fork method. I just gotta find them. So that's a really nice strong root system we got there for the cilantro. Hasn't started going around yet. Now this is time consuming no matter how you cut it. There are tools and widgets that you can purchase so that this isn't too painful. But if it's what you enjoy, then it's just part of the process. You just do it. And then you get into a groove after a few plants are put in. First couple are always babied for some reason. And you try to make less of a mess. Then eventually it just all goes to hell. There's a lot more roots in this one. There were three plants came up. I think it's best that you moisten. Make sure the soil is nice and moist when you do this. That way it stays clumped up. Even if you are planning to separate the plants, it's better, less shock for them if it's moist. For the most part, if there's 4 plants, I leave them alone unless I really feel like the roots are going crazy. Now that they're getting up potted, they'll be able to spread out and grow just fine. But when it is just one plant that came up in a cell, then I will combine it with another plant. Like here's a cell with just one, and this is another cell with just one. So I'll combine those. This one grew in the corner. The seed got pushed away. So I'll turn that so that it's in the center of the new pot it's going in. And your plants may be a little floppy for a day or so, but they'll perk back up after they've settled into their new surroundings. Now my little personal flat here is going to be a little bit trickier to harvest because there are plants that I'm keeping in. Looks like I'm just going to take the cilantro and the dill out of here. The parsley is still tiny enough to stay. And this here is celery. Those can stay there. So we'll try our best here. And this is a shallower container, so you got the roots coming out the bottom already. There is likely to be more damage. I can hear snapping as I'm pulling up, but it should recover. And this is where the soil blocking comes in very useful. If I had done a little bit more separation of the soil beforehand, this would be going a lot smoother. That's okay. All right, let's finish up with the dill here first, and then I'll mess with the cilantro again. And once you water this, if the soil starts to settle, you can fill in. So you've got roots coming from the leeks and the celery intertwined. Cilantro really reminds me of Vietnamese restaurants that we would eat at when I was a kid. I don't remember ordering anything fancy. I wasn't that adventurous. But this scent definitely takes me there. Oh, I took some parsley there. So these may suffer a little bit more transplant shock than the others because I messed around with the root system quite a bit. But we didn't destroy too much, so I think they'll bounce back just fine. Now I'm just going to tuck back in the other plants that got pulled out. Now we got to fill in the soil that got pulled. And there's some other seeds in here that didn't germinate. Spearmint, oddly enough, had poor germination. Now is where we play a little bit of shuffling plants. It's always who has the best light, where the temperature is best for them, because higher up it gets warmer, lower down it stays cooler. Well, for now that there's not that many plants yet, they'll stay where they are. I've got the peppers and some of the other slower germinating stuff up top. And then I'll put the brassicas that I'll be sowing soon at the bottom. But so far so good. Everybody's looking healthy. I've fed them a couple of times with just some liquid fertilizer, the run-of-the-mill stuff that I have years and years of, and I don't mind using for these indoor projects because I don't know how to ensure that the stuff I'm making outside doesn't kill them, because there's no bacteria and stuff to do the stuff that needs to synthesize them so that the plants can uptake them. Or if the plant can uptake them, great, but I just don't want to mess with that stuff. I'm not masterful enough for that. So we just leave it to the professionals. I don't mind a little bit of that synthetic stuff in the beginning. They'll be organic once they get in the ground. You can kind of see the time, but the spearmint is very sparse. The sage took a while to come up too, but eventually, like this one just popped up, and this one, and there was one over there that I think died out. But yeah, like these four came up quicker, and then the rest popped up just more recently. And I was really giving up on them because they were taking a lot longer than I was expecting. But that's how seeds work. Something amiss in this oregano patch is obviously a weed of some kind. I'm pretty sure I've seen this outside in the wild. And it's definitely acting like a weed. It grew really fast, it's very big, and it's shading out the potential oregano. So I will be snipping it out. I don't want to pull it because the roots might disturb more of the oregano. I don't have my scissors right now, so I'll cut that out. Well, I snipped it and I smelled it, and it actually smells like oregano. So, poo on me if that actually was. But it grew really fast. So, I don't completely trust it. But it smells so good. Whatever it is, it could be a seed that, another variety that smells like oregano. But that's that. I haven't forgotten that I have to label either. Another thing I haven't forgotten are all my brassicas waiting patiently for me. But also, we have these potatoes I bought specifically, also from Trader Joe's, specifically purchased for planting purposes. These are just your run-of-the-mill gigantic potatoes. I don't know, baking potatoes. So I'm going to plant these honkers and see what we get. That's the one thing I like about the UK. They really take gardening and growing for the average person seriously, specifically with their potatoes. You can go into your nurseries or regular garden center, and you can buy potatoes like you buy daffodil bulbs. You can pick and choose, you can buy by the pound. Here you're pretty much stuck with a few, very few large potato producers, and they sell it to you by the very expensive, pounds here and there. So it's hard to get variety without having to purchase a whole lot of potatoes that you may not have space for. Sure, you should definitely look into sharing, ordering for a group of people so that you don't have to take on one cost all by yourself, and then you can spread the potatoes around. But realistically, how often do people do that? All right, I got some stuff accomplished. My fingers still hurts a little bit, so don't want to do too much. And there's really no way to protect it. Then I want to cut my nail down, but it's too sensitive to do that because the dirt gets under there and it's kind of unpleasant. But we're getting on. We're getting our seeds in. Got to get my brassicas in. I feel like I'm pushing it here, but I will. The kids had off this week for President's Week or whatever, so I was too busy making sure they were entertained. So the gardening took a little bit of a backseat, but getting on it. I don't have any more excuses, but I will talk to you all again soon. Bye.